2017 was one of the worst wildfire seasons in recent history, burning over 9 million acres of land and following an unfortunately growing trend. According to wildfiretoday.com, the acres burned per fire season over the past 30 years has grown from 2 million acres to now over 8 million acres. The 2017 fire season destroyed historic national park buildings. Thousands and thousands of homes were destroyed. The air quality for millions and millions of people was drastically affected, and financial losses in the billions of dollars occurred. Now, is this just Mother Nature taking her course, or are there causes of this upward trend in severity? There's little doubt that climate change has contributed by making our forests more arid. But in combination with climate change, there has been sharp declines in timber sales and harvests on our public lands, and this has led to sharp increases in fuels in those forests. Now, these changes are due largely to increased environmental regulation, as well as litigation that prevents or minimizes timber sales and harvests on our public lands. Federal government statistics show a drastic decline over the last 30 years in timber sold and harvested, while other government statistics show a marked increase in acres burned over that same time period. And there is a statistic that has grown alongside of this, and that is the lawsuits that are intended to stop the sale and harvest of timber. According to healthyforests.org, in my own state of Montana, so much of Montana's forests have been so significantly impacted by insects, disease, and wildfire that 90% of the national forest's net annual growth is lost to these threats. Now, from 2005 through 2014, in U.S. Forest Service Region 1, which encompasses Montana and Idaho, harvested timber occurred on just under 15,000 acres annually. Now, that represents only 0.5% of all forest land acres with some type of forest. Meanwhile, wildfires in Region 1 averaged 468,000 acres of land annually. That's over 30 times the amount of harvested acres. According to a University of Montana study, in recent years, litigation has encumbered up to 50% of Region 1's planned timber harvest volume. Between June of 2012 and June of 2013, 53% of projects that require an environmental impact statement were appealed. 92% of the timber sale volume was appealed, and 54% of the timber sale volume was litigated. What is the motivation for these groups to sue? You may believe it or you may not, but in addition to whatever good intentions these groups have, they definitely have a financial motive to sue. Did you know that the federal government pays these groups to sue the federal government? What? Yes, you heard that right. According to Tom Coughlin of the Independent Record, a State University of New York and Western Michigan University study found that of the over 1,100 lawsuits filed over federal land management between 1989 and 2008, the Forest Service only won less than 54% of the time, while losing or settling the rest. And they are losing ground. Over the last 6 years of that study, they lost more and more cases. Well, when they lose, you and I, the U.S. taxpayers, we pay that bill. When they settle, you and I pay that bill. Make no mistake, these lawsuits are big business. Now, just as there is an economic incentive for these groups to sue, there's an economic impact from these diminishing timber sales. The federal government loses revenue that they would have received from those sales. Fuels build up and wildfires strike. Economic losses occur from the fire damage as well as the direct costs of fighting those fires. In addition, many hardworking people are put out of work as wood processing businesses are forced to either scale back or go out of business altogether due to the lack of timber. Now, reversing this trend would bring tremendous benefits. According to J. O'Loughlin, professor and director of the College of Natural Resource Policy at the University of Idaho, large areas of federal land in the western states are in significant decline in forest health and resilience. But he states that forest management that includes hazardous fuel treatments at sufficient scale would lead to a high likelihood that future fire behavior would be modified under all but the most severe weather conditions. He goes on to say that the economic benefits from avoided costs of future fire suppression, those savings alone could be sufficient to justify the needed investment. And above and beyond that, further economic benefits can be realized from the sale of these harvested trees. In his own words, he says, active management can provide a triple win by improving forest conditions, especially wildfire resilience, provide useful consumer products with renewable energy feedstocks as a byproduct, and revitalize rural communities by putting people to work. Fortunately, some in Congress are recognizing this and crafting legislation, the Resilient Federal Forest Act of 2017, which is designed to change the rules by prohibiting fringe groups from receiving attorney fees when they sue to stop a project that is intended to reduce the threats of wildfire and insect infestations. It also requires that any court hearing a case regarding a Forest Service action must weigh the benefits of taking short-term action versus the potential long-term harm of inaction, such as the threat of catastrophic wildfire. As an alternative to costly litigation, this legislation also proposes an innovative pilot project to test the use of arbitration to address these challenges. You can help change the destructive impact of our ever-growing fire seasons. Call your congressman and senator today and tell them to support the Resilient Federal Forest Act of 2017. Let's bring some common sense back and allow our forests to be responsibly managed.